Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, students. Hello, Coral Glades High School, and anybody else who's watching. My name is Chef Bob DiSabatino, and today I'm doing a demo, salmon piccata. Okay. Now, this can be done with chicken breasts. This can be done with any kind of fish fillet, as long as it's a good firm fish fillet. It can be done with pork chops, whatever turns you on. But I'm doing it today with a nice piece of salmon, okay? The other ingredients are, this is a very basic, very tasty. Remember, the simplest food is the best food, okay? We've got butter, okay? We've got pepper. Please use freshly ground pepper, not pre-bought ground pepper. We've got salt. We've got a little bit of white wine, in this case non-alcoholic, but because I'm doing it for students, and any dry white wine. I've got capers, which come from the nasturtium bush, right? And I've got lemon juice, okay? And this is something that my daughter Beatrice actually exposed me to, turned me on to. And this is something called coloratura. It's made from an essence of anchovies, okay? And it actually is a recipe that dates back to ancient Roman times. This used to be a very basic recipe, ingredient in many Roman dishes. Not everybody likes it. I'm not going to add it this time, but in Italy, this is especially in the Amalfi area, in between Rome and Naples. This is actually a very much used product. But I'm going to put this back where I keep it here, and there we go. We're also going to need olive oil. And basically, I want to explain to you the process. This is line cooking 101, okay? You've got your mise en place. I've got my lemon. I've got my parsley, because we're going to use parsley as a garnish, okay? And what we're going to do here is we're going to sear the salmon steak so that it's nice and brown on the top, right? But unfortunately, it's a thick steak, so it'll still be raw in the middle. Now, some people like a little bit of, raw, but I'm going to cook it all the way through. So what we're going to do is we're going to sear it in olive oil, and then we're going to put it in the oven. I've got the oven at 400 degrees. We're going to finish it in there. While it's finishing in there, I'm going to show you how to trim parsley, how to chop it. We're going to get some lemon zest, which we're going to add, and then we're going to finish the dish. So let's get started. I'm going to put my saute pan on medium high, and I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Now, when we are done cooking the salmon, we're going to take it out, and then we're going to pour the oil out, right? Because otherwise the final product will be a little bit too greasy, but at least the salmon will still have the olive oil flavor. And then we're going to do a process which is called deglazing. We're going to deglaze the pan with white wine, lemon juice, and then we're going to finish it with butter. We're going to, basically what the French call monter au beurre, we're going to mount the sauce with butter. The butter will thicken the sauce up. You'll see the final product, okay? So, remember, in the kitchen, assume everything is hot. Never touch something without touching it. And you see, I already got my glove, which I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to place it over here. Okay, so how hot do we want the oil? We want the oil hot enough so that when you run it through the pan, it runs like water, okay? You don't want it too slow and too slimy, because then what's going to happen is once you put the fish in there, it'll stick. You want the oil to be hot. And actually, for a little bit of flavor, I'm going to add a touch of butter to the oil. Just a touch, just for flavor, okay? And it's okay, because if you have a little bit of butter with oil, butter's burning point is much lower than oil's. But if you mix it with oil, then the butter won't burn, okay? So, the oil is warming up here. In the meantime, I am going to season my salmon. And I'm going to do that with a little bit of salt, And remember, a little bit, because you know what? If you put too much salt, you've ruined the dish. If you don't put enough salt, you can always add it later, okay? Better too little than too much. And a few grinds of black pepper. And there we go. Now I can hear the butter sizzling over here. And as you can see, the oil now is nice and runny. That's how we want it. I'm going to take the salmon, and we always do cooking, we always do skin side up first, because the part that's going to be presented to the customer is not the skin side part, but the part closer to the bone. So this part goes down first. That's got to be one of the greatest sounds in the world. I'm going to wash my hands. Remember, keep your station clean, keep your station organized. A clean station is an organized station. A clean mind is an organized mind. Okay. As you can see, the salmon is not sticking. And it's not sticking because the oil was hot. So we're going to let that sizzle a little bit more. And if you can see it, you can see that it's already starting to cook on the bottom there. All right? So we're going to keep doing this. And salmon is one of those fish, it's amazing. It's a freshwater fish. It's high in omega-3s, and it's very tasty. And personally, I prefer it smoked, but it all tastes are personal, right? So I want it to get nice and toasty in the bottom, so I'm going to let it cook a little bit longer. Every now and again, maybe I'll flip up just to see what it looks like.
Smells good.
Oh. I'm going to flip it back over and let it cook a little bit longer. Okay. In the meantime, let's see. No, I think I'm going to wait for this to cook a bit longer. I wish there was some kind of a story I could tell people as this is cooking. So, this looks really, really good. So what we're going to do at this point, I think I'm going to let it cook maybe another minute. Okay. I'm going to flip it. And when I flip it, notice I point the pan down like that so that when you do flip it, it doesn't splash in the oil and then maybe splash on you. Because remember, oil burns like fire. All right, so you can see it's already got a nice little brown, crusty top, and that is beautiful. So now I'm going to let it sear on the bottom a little bit. And I like to move it around simply because I don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pan, right? So, move it around, and there we go. You can see that it's already actually cooking quite well. So this will only need a couple of minutes in the oven, and then it's going to be ready. So I'm going to put it in the oven. And now let's move on with the parsley. Unlike cilantro, parsley, you cannot use the stems. You can only use the leaves. Because if you use the stems impart a bitter flavor. My wife is pointing at something. Turn off the fire. Thank you. That's why I need her around. Thanks, Cruz. So we remove the leaves. Now, with cilantro, it doesn't matter because cilantro, the stems taste just as fine as the leaves. They're not going to really impart any weird or bitter flavor. But in parsley, we want to remove the leaves. So when you're using parsley, be sure you use flat leaf Italian parsley, okay? Flat leaf Italian parsley, it's called flat leaf or Italian parsley, has got more flavor, okay? Curly parsley, if you can't find flat leaf, you can use curly parsley. But curly parsley is used mostly as a decoration, as a garnish on a plate, okay? But if you can't find flat leaf, use curly parsley. But Like I said, flat leaf is the best. So I'm trimming off all the leaves here. There we go. We're almost there. This is probably more than what we need, but what the heck. There we are. And remember, clean the parsley very well first, because a lot of times, especially if it's organic parsley, which this isn't because they didn't have it, I usually use organic. But if it's organic, they don't wash it ahead of time, so there's, you know, there's sand and silt and dirt on it. So what I like to do is, like, I bunch up the parsley, right? I try to bunch it up, fold it over, and then chop the parsley. Remember the claw, remember the claw. That way, if you're using the claw, even if you have your eyes closed, which I'm not saying you should, you cannot cut yourself by accident. And that is as fine as I'm gonna mince it. How fine you wanna mince it is completely up to you, but to me, that's good enough. Let me rinse my fingers off here. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to get the zest, of a little bit of the zest of the lemon. Mind you, you don't want to use too much, okay? Now, the lemon and all citrus fruits, because this is technically a fruit, it's made up of 3 parts. There's the zest, which is the yellow outer part. There's the pith, which is the white part, and you do not want to use that in cooking because it's very bitter. And then there's the flesh and the juice, right? So technically, I guess 4 parts, okay? So when you want, I usually have one of those manual zesters, but I left it at school. So I'm gonna use this, which is more rudimentary, but what the heck. So remember, you don't want the pith, you just want the yellow part. So don't scrape too hard. And again, you don't need a lot because there's a lot of flavor in this, a lot of flavor. And by the way, I always show this to my students because people don't realize how much, see, that's the pith, okay? How much oil there is in one of these babies. Let me show you something. You see that? That's oil from the, well, now I used it all up. But you do that in front of a flame, you'll get like a little mini flamethrower. That's the oil from the lemon. All right, I just touched the trash can, so let me wash my hands again. Okay. Okay, so that's why I hate these things. And it's not a lot of zest, but you don't need a lot. This is about maybe half a teaspoon, and that's really all you need. And I'm going to put this here so I can wash it later. Okay, and you know, I may not need, that may be enough lemon juice right there. So let's go take a look at our salmon. I hear it sizzling away. This salmon is ready. So now, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to put it on medium-high heat, and here's where I pour the oil out, because I don't want this to be too greasy. So I pour the oil out into the sink, okay, and then I'm going to splash it with white wine. Hear that sound? And now we're going to do what we call reducing. Reducing is the act of boiling the liquid so that it reduces in volume. And not only will it reduce in volume, but it will also, the flavor will be more pronounced. It will be more, since you're reducing, all the water is evaporating, all the flavor remains behind. And the good thing is, too, for those people who are, you know, touchy about alcohol, when you boil the wine, the alcohol evaporates. So it's not going to have any kind of effect on you. So At this point, I'm going to add a little bit of capers, not too much. Now, there's two kind of capers. Two ways of buying capers. The most common way is pickled in brine like this. And then the better way, but you can't find them anymore like that, is in salt, cured in salt. So anyhow, I've got maybe a teaspoon here. I'm going to put it inside there. Okay. Like anchovies is the same way. Where did I put the cover? Anchovies can be either brined or pickled, right? Brined in salt or pickled. Nowadays, you can even buy it in a tube, but anchovies is one of those beautiful things. As a matter of fact, I would probably even maybe add a little bit of anchovy to this. Anchovy is one of those ingredients that if you taste it and you go, oh, anchovies, then you put too much. Anchovies just brings out flavor. So, we're gonna let this reduce. Then, when the wine reduces to about half the amount of what I put in there, to about 1/8 of a cup, then we're gonna add the butter. Now, when I add the butter, people are gonna freak out. Oh, I forgot, let's add the lemon juice too. People are gonna freak out. They're gonna go, how much butter are you adding on there? Butter makes it better. A little bit of lemon juice. Again, lemon juice, be careful. Don't add too much because otherwise it's gonna get too tart. And I'm not gonna go to garbage. I'm gonna put it here because I don't want to touch the garbage can. I see the little lemon pit came in there, so I'm gonna get rid of it. There we go. I think there was another one. No, maybe not. Okay. So you can see the sauce is already reduced by quite a bit. So we're going to let it keep reducing here. And again, remember, you can do this with, traditionally in Italy, it's done with chicken breasts. Remember, when you do it with chicken breasts, pound the chicken breast with a mallet so that it is evenly, it's even, the thickness is even. You can't do that with fish because fish is delicate. If you pound it, it's going to fall apart. So that's why I finish it in the oven. But chicken breasts, pork chops, you can even use veal cutlets. Those are okay. Veal cutlets you need to pound too so that they're thin. And they'll cook a lot quicker than this. Okay. So I'm going to use a pair of tongs to pick this up. And that's reducing nicely. I'm going to let it reduce maybe a little bit more. But what I'll do is I don't want the fish to overcook. So I'm going to put the fish down right there. Let this reduce a little bit longer. I'm going to add the zest. Add the zest at the end because otherwise it might get a little too bitter. And at this point, I'm going to add the butter. I would say a good 2 tablespoons of butter. I know that sounds like a lot, but believe me, it's worth it. As the butter melts, it's going to thicken the sauce. Now, sometimes the sauce breaks. Sometimes maybe you added too much butter and the sauce breaks, it separates, so that you have the liquid and the greasy oil from the butter remaining behind. If that happens, don't throw it away. You can fix it. Just add a little bit more wine to it, and it'll come back together. Now, as you can see, oh my gosh, this is lower the flame just a little bit. And I move it. It's good to keep moving it because otherwise the sauce may break. And keep reducing it until it becomes nice and thick. This is called monte au beurre. To mount or thicken with butter. Still too thin. I'm going to pick it a little bit longer. you can see, it's already thickening up, but I want it a little thicker. This is why line cooks rule. Imagine doing this in a commercial kitchen on an average night. You have to do 200-300 dishes. That's what line cooks do. That's why line cooks are all crazy. Okay, this is thickening up nicely. I'm going to give it maybe another 30 seconds. This sauce is ready. And just for color, I'm going to add a little bit of paprika to the lemon garnish here. Guys, salmon piccata. Goodbye.